Okay, this is radicals and rational exponents number 1. All right? So, what do you know about these words? Radicals. What's a radical? What's another word for radical?
Another word for radical?
What's another word for radical in math terms? Right? Did you hear what she said? She said root. All right, what is that? When you hear now you hear radical and you hear root. Does your brain start to click a little? What pops into your mind? What do you see in your mind?
Square root.
A square root. Good. What else pops in your mind? Anything else? Do you see the symbol in your mind? Do you see the symbol of a square root, of a radical? Do you see this thing? Square root and radical are synonyms. They mean the same thing. This is your most basic. So here we have an x. This is a square root symbol. Technically speaking, I think it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different lines in the actual square root symbol. But you'll see it all different ways, right? Teachers will go like this. Teachers will go like this. Your calculator goes like that, I think, and then you put a number here, right? So all different ways you'll see the radical. So this is radical. Now, rational exponents. What's an exponent? What's another word for exponent? Okay, search your brain. What's another word for exponent? Are you concentrating, Nikki?
Power?
Thank you, Natalia. Natalia's doing all this. She's like taking notes and answering questions. I like this. Okay, so power, right? So here's an exponent. X to the 5th. Fair enough? That's an exponent. You called it an exponent. Now, when you were in middle school, they might have taught you the whole thing is an exponent. They might have taught you this is an exponent. I like to call the whole thing an exponent and this thing up here a power. But you're flexible. Okay, use whatever language you can, okay, to understand it. So here you have a square root or a root. Here you have a power. What's their relationship to each other? What's the relationship of a power and a square root? Maybe. Maybe. More. Go more. What's the relationship of these? Okay, I'll lead you there in a second, right? I'll lead you through it, but I'd like your brain to come up with it first, if you can. You want your brain to do it. So look at this. If you raise this x to a power 2, what's the opposite of that?
Opposite of what?
An x to the power 2. How do I reverse that?
Root?
I do a root. In other words, an x to the power 2, if I put this over it, which is a 2 root, a 2 root negates or reverses a power 2. Does this make sense? These all disappear and you're left with just an x. It's back to normal. What is this like for you? First we taught you addition, which was going forward. Then we taught you
Subtraction.
which is going backward. Fair enough? They're operations. One forward, one reverse. Then we taught you multiplication. Right after that we taught you division, equal and opposite operation, right?
What?
Okay, then we taught you power. We said, hey, here's a power. Now we need to do the same thing. Power is going forward. We need to teach you how to reverse it also. So that's the root. Fair enough? If you do a 2 root here, then you can reverse it and we can go back to x. Does this make any sense? I feel like I'm getting somewhere, but not too far. I'm getting somewhere, but it's not all warmed up in there yet, okay? So here's the thing. Let's talk about fractional exponents. So have you ever seen this? X to the power 1/2. The power is a fraction. All right, so that's what you're going to talk about in this lesson, and I think there's 5 lessons in this unit, and this is warming you up for Algebra 2, where you're going to do a lot of this, right? And it's Algebra 2 light, because we're going to just go over the basics, all right? So, what does this mean? Well, what if you were to take the square root of an x? What is the power on the root? What root number is this if they don't show it? I like the way you're thinking, but it's not right. It's actually a 2 in there because, and think of the word square root. Square being back to that 2 thing. Remember when we raised to power 2, we're like x squared is to the power 2? Again, complicated language that doesn't necessarily help your brain think through it. So some of it you got to just remember, okay? So this is a 2 root. What's the power on the x? Now say your answer. 1. And you might have been thinking, the first question I asked, you might have been thinking that's what I was asking. Okay? Just in all fairness. Okay, so I was asking first, what's the power on the root here? 2. And what's this one? So what does this equal? This equals x. The 1 stays on the x, or moves to the numerator position, excuse me, and the 2 goes to the denominator. It goes like this. 1, and this comes over here. 2. Are you watching? Are you following this? Are you concentrating?
Yes.
Ready? If you have an x to the power 2, and this out here is to the 3rd root, tell me what the fractional power is. 2/3. Do you see it? Did you look? Okay, go back. Some of you got it. Cynthia, did you follow? Do you see what happened here? Track through it. So the power on the x is 1, the root is 2. Fair enough? It's a 2 root. So when you come over here and do a fractional power, the 1 goes to the numerator, and the power on the root goes into the denominator. So now come down here, take a look at it. 2/3. You following this? And it's complicated, and your brain has to remember they switch places, and it's a little bit weird, okay? But you're going to do this a lot. In Algebra 2, you'll be going back and forth between these fractional roots and the square root setup, okay? So this becomes 2/3 here. Everybody okay with that? Do you want to question it or look at it again? You okay, Natalie, with this? You see the pattern? So do a few more. If this is x cubed, and this is the 5th power out there, what do you got? 3/5. X to the 3/5 power. You okay with this? Okay, now go backwards a couple of times, right? Give yourself this one. Say it's x to the 1/2. What does that equal? Now you're going backwards.
I don't know how to say it, but I don't know. The square root, and then the root would be 2.
The root's 2 out here.
Sorry. And x, and then to the power 1.
And when you write this, you're only going to write this because the 2 is assumed and the 1 is assumed. It's hidden. Natalia, are you with me?
I'm sorry, I'm stressed.
3, 2, 1. What's happening? Is everything okay?
No.
Okay, do you need to do anything or do you need... Okay. If it's an emergency, let me know, okay? If it's an emergency, tell me. All right, go here. Ready for another one? If this is x to the... Let's reverse it a little. Let's do 5/3. What do you got?
Square root.
Okay, so root symbol. I'm going to do the root. What power goes out here? 3. And then what's under here? To the 5th power. Are you following the pattern? It's just a pattern at the moment, and you've got to get that mechanics down. And this whole Schoology is just go through, it'll give you a bunch of these and just pick the ones that match. It'll give you a bunch of these and pick the ones that match, just to warm you up on where these places are, right? It's almost like when you learn fractions, you're like, oh, there's a numerator and there's a denominator. You with me? And it's this position and this position. You okay with this? It's just a positioning. Good? That's all this Schoology is. And then the next one rolls into a little bit deeper. Okay? Okay, good.